Top 25 running backs in college football next at the Voice of College Football. Hey again, everyone. Good to see you. Let's continue our position rankings. Please check out our quarterbacks video. We ranked the top 25. We usually do the top 10, but I just couldn't stop myself, so I went to 25 on the quarterback. So I guess I got to do it with every position, don't I? Top 25 running backs. Here we go. Please like the video. Even if you don't agree with me, if you love what we do here on a daily basis, best discussion, debate, and analysis, that's not necessarily the accomplishment every day, but that's the aim, that's the goal, that's the mission. That's what we set out to do right here. So please support us. You get your main national narratives and storylines and discussion right here. And if you love a particular team, especially the ones on the shelf, then we got 22 team channels, so lock it in there as well. All right, top 25 backs. We start with Miami's Cam Harris. He ran for 643 yards, 5 yards per carry, plus 6 touchdowns. Got off to a great start against UAB, 134 in the opener, then 134 against Louisville. Then he slumped, and guess what? He's got a couple freshmen chomping at his heels in Donald Chaney and Jalen Knighton, and they took over some of the workload, and his numbers were compromised through most of the season. He had a nice game in one of the final games in November against Duke with 96 yards. Cam Harris, Miami, at number 25. Number 24, we got a pretty sincere selection here in Sincere McCormick out of Texas San Antonio. Mind-boggling statistics considering the truncated 2020 season. 1,467 yards and 11 touchdowns. Sincere McCormick can get it done. Check out the game-by-game numbers. You probably haven't seen him play. I did in the bowl game. He can play. We've got him at number 24. As we go back to the group of 5 and to the MAC, the champion, Buffalo. Buffalo actually didn't win the MAC, did they? They were upset in the championship game, I believe, by Ball State. But this has been the best program in the MAC in recent years. And Kevin Marks, one of the big reasons why. Had a big 2019 with over 1,000 yards. 741 last year. 6.6 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns. Kevin Marks at number 23. Then we go out to the Pac-12. And Jarek Broussard was one of the main factors in Colorado, surprising everyone with a 4-2 regular season record as the Buffs played their first season under Karl Dorrell. Jarek Broussard had 5.7 yards per carry and 5 touchdowns and 9 catches out of the backfield. That was only in 6 games. His first 4 games were 100-yard efforts. He had a 301 spot against Arizona. Now, the Wildcats defense is atrocious, but still, 301 yards. Keep in mind that even in lugging the ball 27 times for 82 yards against Texas, which is not impressive in terms of yards per carry, the Buffs couldn't throw the ball. They had a marginal quarterback. Texas was ultra-talented in comparison to Colorado, and they still gave it to Broussard 27 times against the Longhorns in the Alamo Bowl, and he scored 2 touchdowns. Jarek Broussard, Colorado, at number 22. At number 21, we go out, stay in the Pac-12, actually, with USC's Keaontay Ingram, who comes into the Trojans camp from Texas. And Ingram's 2020 season was fine to a certain extent, 4.7 yards per carry and a touchdown. But his play was compromised basically by 2 factors. He had a huge fumble in the game against TCU. The Longhorns driving last 90 seconds of the game, ready to score the game-winning touchdown, and Keaontay Ingram fumbled at the 1-yard line. Also, a guy by the name of Bijan Robinson took over and just stole the show. So if you go back to 2019, here's a guy who ran for almost 900 yards and 6 yards per carry and 29 receptions and 10 total touchdowns. Now he goes to USC, where they are missing Marquis Stepp, who transferred to Nebraska, and Stephen Carr, who transferred to Indiana. So Keaontay Ingram, a welcome addition to the USC backfield, is at number 21. We go to Clemson for our 20th best running back in the nation. And Travis Etienne has finally moved on from Clemson as the most prolific rusher in the history of the conference. And he's replaced, at least initially, by Lyn-J Dixon. Now, Clemson fans know that there's going to be a battle for carries and also pass receptions out of the backfield. But for right now, Lyn-J Dixon, a very formidable back, 6.6 yards per carry and 15 touchdowns in his career, but only averaged 4.5 yards per carry in 2020. Not necessarily his fault. A similar decline in yards per carry as Travis Etienne, who had the most prolific yards per carry in the history of college football up until his senior season, and then his yards per carry went down by more than 2. So that was offensive line related. Will he keep his job with the likes of Will Shipley and others? Lyn-J Dixon at number 20. All right, we're in the top 20 at number 19, and on to the Big Ten, and Iowa's Tyler Goodson. What a fine running back he is. 7 touchdowns, 5.3 yards per carry, almost 800 yards. He hit up the Wisconsin defense for 8 carries and 106. All Big Ten first-teamer, probable first-round pick. He's in that discussion, and also has made the Doak Walker Award his goal for 2021. Tyler Goodson of Iowa at number 19. Our 18th rated running back hasn't gotten a whole lot of carries at this level, but based on his talent, based on the system, I don't know how many carries he's going to get, but I'm not predicting statistics. I'm telling you who the top 25 running backs are in the nation. So this guy may not finish with the 18th most rushing yards in the country, but he's certainly more than the 18th best and most talented running back, but possibly compromised by a serious injury. 5-star Alabama running back Trey Sanders. He ran for 134 yards with some limited time. And unfortunately, in addition to that, he was coming off his best career game. 7 carries, 80 yards against Mississippi State. Then he suffered a hip injury in the car accident. And again, coming off his best game against a conference opponent, Trey Sanders, watch him out, the 5-star. Could get some carries, may have to work back into the rotation at Alabama. Number 17, very intrigued by this player, Max Borghi of Washington State, who had to transition from the Mike Leach offense to the Nick Rolovich offense. I only played 1 game in 2020 and got hurt. He did have over 100 total yards in that game, but go back to 2019. He ran for over 6.4 yards per carry, 16 total touchdowns, but get this, Mike Leach offense, 86 receptions. Is Max Borghi going to be used like that? He's definitely an NFL player in the future. Number 17 on our list, Washington State's Max Borghi. The 16th best running back in the nation is Tyler Allgeier out of BYU. He ran for 7.5 yards per carry and 13 touchdowns, as I try to read my own writing. But BYU played one of the worst schedules in the country. Check that. BYU played the worst schedule in the country. Not their fault. They had to piece together a schedule after the pandemic. But Allgeier definitely profited from the revised schedule. Pro Football Focus says that he's the 9th best running back in the nation. And there you go. I got him in number 16, though. Again, the schedule and the production against the opponents drops him down my list. Tyler Allgeier of BYU at 16. On to number 15 and back out to the Pac-12 for C.J. Verdell. He ran for 285 yards. Of course, the Ducks barely played football. Only 6 regular season games for them. But he's coming off over 1,000 yards in both 2018 and 19 with touchdown seasons of 12 and 14. C.J. Verdell can play. He's in his 5th season, and he wants to run for 2,000 yards. He's on record saying, I'm going to finish off my college career with 2,000 yards. He's coming off a thumb injury, which compromised his 2020, but back for a big season, and Oregon's Pac-12 championship hopes partially ride on him. At number 14, we mentioned Cam Harris at number 25. How about Donald Chaney? No, he doesn't have the numbers of a Cam Harris, but I believe he's a better running back based on my own 2 eyes. Ran for 322 yards, 4.7 per carry, 3 touchdowns, 3-time state champion, size, speed, balance, combination, exceptional. Your 14th best running back in the nation is Donald Chaney of Miami. Number 13, we go out to the Big 12. And one of those Tennessee transfers to Oklahoma, Eric Gray, ran for 772, 4.9 per carry, and 4 touchdowns, caught 30 passes at Tennessee last year. So keep in mind, that Tennessee's offensive line prior to 2020 was pretty bad. It increased considerably. Give Jeremy Pruitt a little bit of credit there. So the offensive line improvement at Tennessee, substantial the past 2 seasons. But the passing game, awful. Eric Gray was the defense's number 1 target, and he held up. He takes the cut. He goes upfield. He had to share time with Ty Chandler, and of course he's going to share time with Kennedy Brooks at Oklahoma. But I like Eric Gray as the 13th best running back in all of college football. At number 12, let's go to Notre Dame and Kyren Williams. And if you wanted to see a running back struggle and still fight for every inch he got, rewatch the playoff game that Notre Dame played against Alabama. Kyren Williams was in a difficult spot against Bama, and he played well. How is he going to do in what's promised to be a more explosive Notre Dame offense that may loosen up some running lanes for him? He ran for 1,125 yards, 5.3 per carry, and 13 touchdowns with 35 catches out of the backfield last year. Kyren Williams, our 12th best running back in college football. Let's go to number 11 in the Big 12, and Letty Brown from West Virginia. Ran for 1,000 yards plus, 5.1 per carry, 9 touchdowns, 31 catches out of the backfield in a short season. He had 5 100-yard games during the spring drills. Letty Brown's emphasis was to become a better pass catcher after catching 31 balls. Letty Brown at number 11 out of West Virginia. On to the top 10 in the nation. All right. We go to Ole Miss and Jerrion Ealy, 745 yards, 5.1 per carry, 9 touchdowns. He caught 15 balls out of the backfield. And now he's got his second year in Lane Kiffin's offense. Jerrion Ealy also protects the football. Second in the nation with 0 fumbles and 147 attempts. Second best rate in the country. Second in the nation in broken tackle rate. 8th in the nation in percentage runs past contact. So a top 10 back in the nation according to those advanced metrics. Jerrion Ealy of Ole Miss, number 10 for me. Let's move it on up to number 9 and Tank Bigsby of Auburn. 854 on the ground, 6 yards per carry and 5 touchdowns. He went on a roll in games 3, 4, and 5 against Arkansas, South Carolina, and Ole Miss with 146, 111, and 129. Pro Football Focus says he's the best back in the nation coming back in 2021. Tank Bigsby, big-time player at Auburn at number 9. Going to play behind an offensive line, though, that has some question marks, but I think he's the 9th best back in college football. At number 8, we go to Kansas State and Deuce Vaughn, who turned out an outstanding freshman campaign. 642 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns. He caught 25 passes out of the backfield as well. The passing game at Kansas State is pretty awful. Defenses could key on Deuce Vaughn, and he still was productive. Number 2 rated running back in the nation coming back, according to Pro Football Focus. And according to Pro Football Focus, you're talking about the number 1 pass catcher at running back in college football. Deuce Vaughn, get to know him out of Kansas State. At number 7, we go to a guy who's produced a little to date, but he's only got the 1 season and a short season at that in 2020. But the talent is off the charts. Kendall Milton of Georgia. How much is he going to play? How much is he going to play early? The running back distribution at Georgia, of course, the room is full of talents headed up by Zamir White, but Kendall Milton is a star. The fans want to see him. They want to see him play early. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a ton of time against Clemson after running for 193 yards at 5.5 yards per carry with 1 catch out of the backfield in 2020. All right, at number 6 in the nation on our running back list is Brian Robinson of Alabama. After a long, long wait in which he always got some playing time, always ran for 400 or 500 yards per season, 483 last year, but always sat behind somebody. Of course, Najee Harris was, I believe, the best running back in college football last year. Brian Robinson finally will most likely be the number 1 back, but he's got to run hard and he's got to be successful because Alabama's got a stable of 4 and 5 stars behind him. So if he doesn't churn it up, he's going to lose some carries. Right now, Pro Football Focus says he's the 4th best running back in the nation. I've got him at number 6. On to the top 5 running backs, according to the voice of college football. We got Kennedy Brooks at Oklahoma. Opted out in 2020 after 2 exceptional seasons in Norman with 1,056 and 1,011 yards. So 2 1,000-yard campaigns for Kennedy Brooks, but now he's got to share carries with Eric Gray. Ramondre Stevenson does move on, and this is Pro Football Focus's number 3 running back. I've got him at number 5. 23% of his runs went for over 10 yards per carry. That was the best rate in the NCAA in 2018 and 19 combined. Kennedy Brooks, 5th best running back in college football. At number 4, we go to a guy that doesn't have a whole lot of attempts under his belt, but he has shown me enough. He was a 5-star coming out of high school, and he ran for 8.2 yards per carry last year. We're talking about, of course, Bijan Robinson of Texas. Just a generational type talent. And there's a ton of speed and talent on this list, of course. But Bijan Robinson really took it up a notch late in the season for Texas. Check out the Alamo Bowl and some of his late season efforts. Again, 8.2 yards per carry. And Keaontay Ingram has moved on to USC. It's the Robinson show in Austin. Our number 3 running back in the nation, we go to Minnesota. And a back who runs hard every attempt, Mohammed Ibrahim. Ran for over 1,000 yards, number 2 in the nation in rushing yards per game at 154 yards per 15 touchdowns. They only played 10 games, scored 15 touchdowns. Mohammed Ibrahim is the number 1 back in Minnesota, and he is a bull. At number 2, Texas A&M, and maybe my favorite back to watch in college football is Isaiah Spiller. Ran for 1,000 yards, 5.3 per carry, 9 touchdowns. And, of course, when you check out and soak in the statistics, keep in mind they only played 10 games instead of what would have been 13 at Texas A&M. 10 100-yard games in his career. Isaiah Spiller cuts like a man. He makes guys look foolish. Doesn't have the top-end speed, but, man, he's got football speed. And, man, he's got vision, and he's got elusiveness and power. He's got it all. That's why he's the number 2 back in the nation, according to the voice of college football. And at number 1, yes, we're going to Iowa State and one Breece Hall. 1,500 yards. That's in a short season. 1,572, 5.6 per carry, 21 touchdowns. Caught 23 out of the backfield. Has 12 100-yard games. He gets hit behind the line of scrimmage, and he just keeps it going. He was one of the top running backs in the nation, according to the advanced metrics in regards to yardage after contact and also yardage after being hit behind the line of scrimmage. Breece Hall, Iowa State, expecting a big year out of him and the Cyclones in 2021. Our top 25 running backs in college football. Who did we miss? Well, of course, I got a list of a ton of running backs I considered, but I had to narrow it down to, yes, not 10 this offseason. We went to 25 right here at the Voice of College Football. Please leave your comments below, and we will see you next time.